How many of you are using leashes or collars or harnesses that are advertised to help your dog walk better on a leash?
Better?
I want to share my opinion.
I don't think she has opinions. Lots of opinions.
Based on the knowledge that I have.
General knowledge?
Of special harnesses, leashes, and collars. I myself am a professional dog trainer.
To professionalism!
I'm an animal behavior student, and I'm also looking to, in the next few years, become certified in multiple different types of dog training, including therapy, dog training, and maybe seeing eye dog training. For this video, I'm not going to be addressing prong collars and choke chains. That's for another video. But I want to talk to people who aren't for aversive methods and are really trying their best to stay using positive reinforcement.
I like you.
But I want to talk about some things that they may not be considering when they are using special harnesses and leashes and collars. So there's a ton of different types of special, I don't know how to word it in one word, walking devices, I guess, that are advertised to help your dog walk properly on a leash. That's not a thing.
It just doesn't happen.
There's no device that's going to teach your dog to walk on a leash. The only way a dog is going to learn how to walk properly on a leash is from a person.
People like us?
A lot of these companies they're companies. They want your money. They may have a love for animals, but at the end of the day, they want to make money.
Show me the money.
There are some really great harnesses and leashes that I'm for, but they are still not going to teach your dog how to walk properly on a leash.
It's working.
A lot of people who get harnesses like this really just want to stop their dog from pulling, and it's almost like they will kind of use these devices as almost like, I don't know, a fulcrum, like something to have leverage over the dog if the dog does pull. Pulling is really a pretty easy habit to kick. I find even in older dogs that have have always pulled and are very intense, it does take time, it takes a lot of consistency, and it takes changing what you're doing. So I think that's the main reason why people don't go with training as a first option, and they go with we'll just get a $25 harness or leash or something that goes around their nose to discourage them from pulling. I want to make it clear that if you want to use positive reinforcement, you need to be encouraging, not discouraging your dog. And by this I mean if the dog is doing something that you don't like, you need to encourage them to do something else that you do want them to do. And I won't get into it, but science has shown that that is the safest and best method for your dog's overall well-being. I don't want this to be a review of all the different types of harnesses and leashes and stuff like that, but there are, just to go over a few, there are some, I don't even know what you would call it. It's not a harness or a collar or a leash, but there are devices that go wrap around a dog's muzzle. It doesn't like close the dog's mouth. It pulls the head if the dog pulls. There are slip collars and leashes, which I have trouble not seeing them similar to choke chains. They're a little bit better because they're made of fabric, so it's a little bit better, but they do tighten around the dog's neck, at least to a certain degree. And there are harnesses that, honestly, most harnesses are pretty good. However, the companies that sell certain harnesses are selling them as a way to get your dog to walk properly on leash, and that's just not a thing. Even though these harnesses are actually really great, I have some, but I don't use them to teach my dog how to walk on a leash. So this is one of the harnesses that I see a lot of, and this is an easy walk harness. Love these harnesses. However, they're advertised to get your dog to walk better on leash. I think that's kind of a slippery slope to kind of go down.
It's a wee bit slippery.
Telling people that they can train their dog just by putting a specific harness on their dog. I like these because if you are going to have your dog pull, and I actually encourage some pulling on leash because I want dogs to be dogs and explore. If they do pull, this is a front clip, so there's a lot less pressure. It's a lot safer area of the body to experience pressure if there is any. There's also leashes like these. You can't tell what this is, but this has a loop right here. This is, my parents use this leash, but they don't actually use it the way it's, they just use it as a regular leash. But you would put this on, you'd clip it on regularly, and then you'd wrap the leash around the dog's body and then put it through the loop. I don't love it just because, like, I mean, maybe there are better leashes than this, but this is like so thin that it's not thin, but it's like, this does not seem like it's comfortable to be around a dog's body, just in my opinion.
Possibly be comfortable like that.
This nice and flat, so it's gonna feel more like a band, you know, than an actual rope around your dog. In my opinion, based on the definition of aversive, I would consider the leashes that go around the dog's nose and slip collars as like very mild aversives. I know some people are going to disagree about that, but it creates something uncomfortable for the dog in order to discourage pulling, which is the behavior that you want to change. Using these is using discouragement rather than teaching a new behavior, which is leash walking in general. So you're not actually teaching your dog to walk on a leash. You are teaching your dog to avoid the discomfort that they now associate with pulling. You see what I'm saying? The thing with dogs who are taught in this way to avoid discomfort and things that they don't like is that science has shown us, and I won't go into great detail, it's all out there, I will make more videos about it, but science has shown us that dogs that are taught with that method, if you can call that teaching, are constantly aware that they at some point will experience discomfort and stuff that they don't like, and so they are constantly concerned about when this is going to happen.
Any moment.
And because they're constantly aware of this, it's like a little bit of a survival thing. You know, the person that controls their life is now implementing discomfort and things that they don't like. Dogs are smart, they're going to try and avoid it, but it creates a sense of them always having to be on guard for avoiding discomfort and things that they don't like. Dogs that are in that state of mind will experience greater stress because they are constantly thinking about when they're going to be stressed out by something that they dislike. That makes complete sense to me. I honestly don't understand why it doesn't click for people.
It makes sense.
I hate for that to sound harsh, but it's true. I don't love the harnesses. I don't know what to call them. They're not harnesses, they're not leashes, they're not collars. I don't know what they...
What are you?
I don't know what to call them. The things that go around your dog's nose to prevent them from pulling. If your dog is a serious puller, it could really do some work on their neck and their head. Dogs' necks are not only very vulnerable, having all their vocal cords and esophagus, and like there's a lot of stuff going on in there. There's not like a ton of protection. Some dogs have a little bit more dewlap, but a dewlap can still be injured. Like, you're giving your dog whiplash.
I think I got whiplash.
If your dog is an intense puller. Honestly, a lot of people's problems could be fixed with just going slow with training to begin with.
Slow down!
Being prepared. I have seen people use harnesses with front clips and not train their dog to walk on a leash and just think that the front clip is supposed to help the dog walk better. I don't know how that's logical in anyone's brain.
I mean, logically, guys.
But the reason we use a front clip is because it's the safest way to walk a dog. It's the least amount of pressure that can be put on a dog's body if they do pull. From my experience, I've seen dogs end up injuring their legs, their shoulder blades. My point is, no device is going to teach your dog how to do this in a safe, healthy, beneficial way for your dog. All of these devices are really geared towards the owners and their satisfaction rather than the welfare of the dog. Any dog can be trained to walk on a harness. A regular collar, I don't love to see it because it's still around their neck, and that's a vulnerable area for a dog. And like I said, dogs will at some point pull, and I think they should be allowed to pull to a degree.
Just a bit, and
But you can't control that. You can't control when your dog decides to pull, even if you're being proactive. So because of that, I think it is extremely important to use the least amount of pressure on your dog's body to reduce stress, which means you will be reducing any potential for reactivity. Not to say that your dog won't be reactive, but if your dog is reactive, more pressure around their neck and body is going to increase the release of cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. More stress, more fear, more reactivity. I see a lot of people, I'll get into this in another video on harnesses, but I see a lot of people putting their harness on their dog like it's a t-shirt. A lot of people are like, dogs slip out of harnesses all the time. It's because people are not putting their harness on well enough. And B, working on leash skills. You cannot expect your dog to know or learn how to walk on a leash properly unless you teach your dog how to walk on a leash successfully in every situation. This means without even a collar on. Your dog should know how to walk along with you without a collar on, without a leash on. If they know how to do that, then when you do move on to using a leash and a collar or a harness, they will be more successful with walking. Overall,
so in conclusion,
special harnesses, leashes, collars do not teach your dog how to walk on a leash properly. They do, however, teach your dog how to avoid discomfort. If you believe in science, if you've read the science, you know what that does to a dog's psyche and well-being. If your dog does pull, the safest thing to do and the best thing to do,
This is the plan.
is to use a harness and to frequently be working on leash training skills. Leash training is super easy, but you have to be consistent and you have to change your mindset a little bit from going for a walk to get from point A to point B to what am I and the dog going to work on this walk. Don't have a destination. You should not have a destination at first. You should definitely not have a time frame. If you are limited on time, you should not be training. You're just going to get frustrated. If your dog isn't listening or doing things that you want them to be doing in a timely manner. So that is my opinion on special walking tools for your dog. None of them will teach your dog how to walk. Most of them will only teach your dog how to avoid discomfort. The only thing that I can recommend is to use a harness, adjust it appropriately. I like to think of a harness more like kind of like a bra. It should be snug, not tight, just enough to support their body if they do pull. But if they pull backwards, they shouldn't be able to slip out. Some dogs are definitely harder to find harnesses for, like short, long dogs are a little tough. Harnesses are definitely the way to go. But do not believe companies that say that their harness makes your dog walk better.
Don't believe in them.
If you take that harness off, or if you start using a different harness that doesn't use correction, your dog will go back to walking the way they did before. So they will realize that they are able to pull and do what they wanted to do. The difference is with positive reinforcement, we work to encourage changing a dog's want to pull on a leash to want to walk next to us.
I want it.
There is no want in aversive methods. The dogs don't want aversive methods.
We don't like it!
Remember, aversive methods do not need to cause physical pain in order to be aversive. So if you do use citronella collars, or if you have a training collar or a bark collar that doesn't shock them, but it vibrates or it beeps. These are things that startle a dog. There's no taking that away. Even if you associate it with getting a treat, they are experiencing being startled, and that in itself is discomfort. So you can't take away the discomfort part of aversives. That's why they are aversives.
It is what it is.
If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, and maybe I changed your mind on a few things, hopefully, feel free to subscribe and stay updated on my weekly videos that I post on animal behavior and wellness and dog training.
Very good, dude. That's okay. That's a mannequin. Ready? All right, bud.